So it's very important to understand that this practice, meditation practice, is not about ending the experience of thinking. That's never going to happen. If that happened, you would have to be put somewhere and fed every day. Right? So that's not what this is about. This is not about ending the thought process. This is about being aware of thinking as thinking. This is about being aware that the thought process is a thought process, not a reality, not a window to the world. Most people think that their thinking is a window to the world. You know, what I think is true is what's happening. That's the way people live, isn't it? Yeah, what I think is true. What I think you mean by what you said is what you said. Not what you actually said or did. It's what I think you said or what I think you did that I'm relating to, because that's the way I live. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I determine whether it's a good day because of what I think. That's how I determine it's a good day. Right? So the practice of meditation is not about not thinking. It's about being aware of thinking as thinking. Being aware that thinking is an automatic interpretation of everything all the time that's very limited and unrealistic. Very limited and unrealistic. Therefore, it behooves you to pay attention to it so that you can see when it is incorrect, when it's inaccurate. And when that's the case, you ought not to be interested. So the purpose of meditation is to practice something consistently enough that it becomes natural. To practice not being involved with thinking, not believing thoughts, not accepting them automatically as a practice. So that this freedom that's available when thinking isn't happening is something that you begin to pay attention to, not just in formal meditation, but you begin to pay attention to it as consistently as you can. You wake up in the morning with a strong enough intention to start to notice it, first thing. Start to notice it. It's there all the time, even when thinking is happening. It's the awareness that's aware of the thinking. It's there all the time. When it's not identified with the thinking, it's free from the effects of thought. When it's not identified with thinking, it's free from the effects of the thought, of the thinking. They asked Nisargadatta, how do you explain your awakening? And he said, I just trusted my guru, and my guru said, just stay with the I am. Stay with the I am. Practice staying with the I am. What did he mean by that? He didn't say stay with I am Nisargadatta. He didn't say stay with I am the body. He didn't say stay with I am whatever. The father, the mother, the son, the brother, the sister, the human being, the politician, the priest. He didn't say stay with any of that. He just stay with the I am. And the I am is before identification. The I am is existence itself. Stay with existence itself. Existence, consciousness, bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Stay with existence itself. Stay aware of your existence, which is there before thinking. During thinking, it's there. And if you practice it consistently, right, so that there is more space in your daily life, more awareness between thoughts, more awareness even when thoughts are occurring if they're not too intense. More awareness between thoughts and more awareness even when thoughts are occurring if the thoughts are not too intense. If they're too intense, then they capture you, right? It takes more practice to be able to experience rage and be calm. It takes more practice. But if you continue to practice these spaces between thinking, not just in formal meditation, but in the informal practice that is your life, Eventually, even when thoughts are occurring, you're aware of the awareness. Even when thoughts are occurring, you're aware of being aware. And that awareness that is now something that is alive and real and always free, can bear witness to the thought process in such a way that when the thought process is inconsistent with reality, when the thought process is inconsistent with the truth, it has no effect. You don't believe it, you don't follow it, you don't speak it, you don't act it. It has no effect. And once you experience that, you will know the difference it makes to be awake. Once you experience that, you'll know the difference. And once you experience that, you'll know you have the power. You know that you have the power to remain as you are. You have the power to remain as what you really are, no matter what's happening, right? So things may come to challenge you, circumstances may come to challenge you, things that people say may trigger stuff that brings up upset or reaction in the mind, right? But because now you have this constant freedom from automatically identifying with that material, it can come up and play, right? And it has no effect on you. You don't speak it, you don't act it. And because that's the case, you start to express the truth. You start to express the truth, and people start to stop being afraid of you. I exist. What do I exist as? Consciousness. What is the world? Consciousness. What is the body? Consciousness. So it doesn't matter. The appearances no longer trick you into believing that they're real. Right? Consciousness appearing as a body. Consciousness is appearing as the world. Consciousness is appearing as thinking. Consciousness is appearing as...
It's not three separate things.
No, it's one thing. It's one thing. Consciousness. Existence is consciousness, and consciousness is bliss. See, the thing that I want you to get, I mean, this is a meditation class, so obviously the practice of meditation is important here. But that practice, the importance of that practice is understood when you realize that right now you're sitting on gold. You know, one of the teachers said, the way one of the teachers talked about it, he said you have a diamond in your pocket and you don't know it. Right now you're sitting on gold. The awareness that you are right now is free. The awareness that you are right now is free. Right? It's unaffected by whatever is happening. Right? It's content. It needs nothing. It wants nothing. It's not going anywhere. It's not coming from anywhere. I mean, if you just take those concepts, right, and look to see what those concepts are pointing at, if you just take those concepts, you know, the freedom, the contentment, the reality, it's real, it's alive. It doesn't need anything, it's complete, it's fulfilled, it's content. If you just take those concepts and you go beyond those concepts and you look at what they're pointing at, you know, if you look at what they're pointing at, if you really do look at what they're pointing at, right, even if it's only for a moment or two, you'll experience a let go, you know, a let go of this contraction. It's a contraction, you know, your mind is a contraction. It's energy contracted into a very tight reality, right? And that's why I say letting go. When you practice meditation, when you're practicing it formally or informally, you're letting go of this conditioned reality that you've been dreaming yourself in, that you've been dreaming that you're in. It'll still be there, but when you see it as a dream, does it have the same effect? If you could wake up, there's a thing called lucid dreaming, right? And people, if you get a little further down the road with this stuff, you can start to experience lucid dreaming. At night when you're dreaming, you're awake in the dream. You're actually awake in the dream. You're dreaming and you know you're dreaming. You're watching it, but you know it's a dream. It's called lucid dreaming, right? This is the way it could be during the awake state, because this is another form of dreaming, right? This is just taking information in the brain and interpreting into what it appears to be, so it's just another dream, right? So the key here is to be awake in this dream, to be awake in this dream. The dream will still be happening, right? We don't even want the dream to end. The dream is kind of interesting, you know what I mean? kind of interesting. It's like watching a dramatic movie, isn't it? Everything's going to go to hell. It's kind of interesting. It doesn't bother you that everything is going to go to hell when you realize it's just a dream. It's just a dream. You don't have to take it seriously. You don't have to carry it around on your back like a weight. And you don't have to crucify yourself to realize the truth. You don't have to crucify yourself to realize your relationship with the source. Yeah, and to wake up from this dream is exactly the same. Exactly the same. When you wake up from this dream, earlier I was talking about if somebody says something to you and you take that to mean something that it's not, and what you take it to mean is bad, and so you react, right? If you wake up in the middle of that dream, what you see is that's not happening. That's what happens. You see, that's not happening. I'm dreaming that. That person said what they said, and I dreamed that they said something else. That makes me psychotic. Right? That's psychosis. Thinking that something's real that's not real, that's psychosis, right? So when you wake up from this dream, it's the same thing. It's a relief, like, oh, thank God. Thank God that wasn't true. Thank God this isn't true. It's exactly the same thing. And when you wake up from a dream from sleep, how long does it take for you to let go of what happened in the dream? It takes no time at all. And when you let go what happened in the dream, it's literally gone, isn't it? It disappears. It's gone. You don't even think it. You'll never think about that again, right? That's letting go. Just letting go. Right? It's the same thing with this dream. You can practice being awake and being aware as the awareness, paying attention to what's happening as an appearance. If you see it as an appearance, it's a persistent one, as Einstein said. It's a very persistent appearance, but nonetheless, it's an appearance, right? And we're all sharing this appearance, right? Because we're all sharing it, we say, well, it must be real, because he sees it. She sees it must be real, right? Because we're sharing an appearance, right? But the only reason we're sharing this appearance is because we all were born into a civilization that teaches the same conditioning. We're all born in a civilization that teaches us the same stuff, right? Basically the same stuff, right? There's variations when it comes to, the country you were born in, whether you speak Chinese or English and all that jazz. But no matter what language you speak, we're all seeing the same sky, we're all seeing the same ground, right? We're all sharing the same language, even though we have to interpret it if it's different from different places. But generally speaking, we're all seeing the same thing, and therefore, just because we agree that we're seeing the same thing, we then conclude that that's real. No evidence. If you ask a quantum scientist, they'll say, that's an illusion. It's an illusion. But even though the data is there, even though the science is there that says that it's an illusion, that says it's an appearance, right? We're still 100% invested in it, aren't we? You get up in the morning, you're in the dream, you're going to be the dream character in the dream, doing the dream thing, right? With all the other people in the dream, they're doing the dream thing with you, right? So just as in a dream when you're sleeping at night, what scares you, what angers you, what you're afraid of, what you're running from, what you're running to, all that stuff is so real. And when you're awake in the awake dream, all that stuff is even realer because you're sharing the dream. That's the difference between the one that happens when the body's asleep and the one that happens when the body's awake. You're sharing the dream with other people. We're in the same dream. One of the things that I came across recently in some of the reading that I'm doing is that, and I've heard of this before, that illness, sickness, body sickness, right, is a function of the fact that that person that's experiencing that needs that to occur in their process of awakening. In the ordinary way of understanding it, it's a whole different story, right? We don't want it, we don't need it, we have all kinds of understandings and explanations for it and all that jazz, right? But in a spiritual context, the understanding is that whatever is happening in the physical body, as far as illness is concerned, is what's needed until you don't need that in your process of awakening. So that's a clue for people who are interested in understanding what goes on in terms of physical illness and suffering. But you can't, the thing about these things is if you don't understand something, don't make it wrong. If you don't understand something, just look at it with the idea that you're not ready to get it yet, that's all. You're not ripe enough to get that yet, that's all. I mean, if you pay attention over time, you'll see there are things that you had no understanding of, but if you stayed with it and you kept looking, all of a sudden they reveal themselves. It's revelation. They reveal themselves, right? So your job isn't to try and force the issue. Don't push the river. That's one of the things that a famous Gestalt therapist, Fritz Perls, said. Don't push the river. Don't try and stop the river and don't push the river. Let the river flow, right? Let things happen as they're happening. If you don't understand something, just relax. Just keep looking. It'll show itself to you when the time is correct, when the time is right.